Hello, I'm Donna Helms with CSI Saddlepads. Today we're here to look at this mare. Her name is Freckles. As you can see, she's got a little bit of age to her and she's got quite a bit of slope to her back. This is a very frequently asked questions that we get all the time at CSI Saddlepads. What can I do to help my horse? So if you're familiar with our pads at all, you know that we do different thicknesses on the inserts. They come from a 1/2 inch thickness to a 3/4 inch thickness. On this particular mare, we're even going to step it up and go to the 1 inch thickness just because of her top line conditioning. Now, as you know with our pads, all of these inserts are easy to remove. They just simply Velcro apart. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to take this mare and I'm going to put her into a 1 inch pad. A couple things I'd like to mention about the way this saddle fits this particular mare. As you can see, the gullet of the saddle is really sitting right on top of her withers. There is no margin for clearance underneath there. The saddle is digging in here. I can't even get my fingertips underneath that skirting of the saddle because it's digging in. You can also see where it's digging in here at the hip. And basically you've got no contact right in here in the middle of this saddle per se. You're going to have to get involved with a pad that's going to create that foundation for you in order to help this horse out. Because this is going to be a very uncomfortable ride for her and probably a very damaging ride to her withers. What I've decided to do today with this particular mare to fill in the concaveness of her top line is to go with this 1 inch insert, and there's a good probability with even that thickness of an insert we're going to also have to include shims just because of that. So let's take a look and see what we have with her. The way I'm going to assess this as I'm doing this fit for this horse is I want the horse to be standing fairly square in the front end. I want her head forward, and then the rest of it is palpation. We're going to feel what this horse is going to feel. And my whole job for this horse to create comfort for her and her rider is to make the foundation with this flex plate to where it comes in full contact with the saddle bar, with your saddle tree, to where it eliminates the pressure points. And the way we do that, this is the inside of one of our flex plates. As you can see, there's 3 layers built up where your common saddle bar pressure points are, but this material is designed to take that bar pressure point and distribute it outward. You can see how it changes and flexes that to where it's still going to stay in good contact, but you've got a good solid foundation underneath the bars of the saddle. This is actually what you're going to be seeing. This is what's sewn inside of the pad itself. This is the flex plate. Whoa, man. Whoa. Ho, ho. And as you can see, when you look at that, we've really got a pretty significant dip right here in the middle where this mare would create a lot of pain for this horse if her rider was to ride her. When it comes to shims, we do different thicknesses in the shims that we have available for our customers. This is a very common thickness. This is a 1/4 inch thickness. The back of this has, it's basically a peel and stick. So there's PSA glue on the back of this. So once we get this into position and we know that we've got the right area shimmed up, we can trim this material with a pair of scissors very easily and just secure it to the pad just by simply sticking it in between the top layer and the bottom layer of the pad. And that's what we're going to do today with this mare. As you can see, for her, I've chosen a thicker pad. This is a 1/2 inch shim. So what we're going to do is lift this half of the pad up. You can actually take it off if you need to. And I'm going to palpate underneath this mare where the correct positioning for this shim is going to be. And usually your shims aren't quite this big, but she does have a significant concaveness to her back. And I know this rider, she's got a pretty big skirted saddle, so we're going to have a big pad on her. That's going to be a pretty good thing right there. And then we're going to palpate back here to also see what's going on. So as I told you earlier, we'd simply peel this material off and stick it there. One of the other things that you can do is because of the way the pad is designed, you can actually just stick it where you believe it needs to be, close the lid, and then reassess everything. You can actually ride it because your saddle weight and the rider's weight is going to securely hold that shim in positioning. So you can do a little trial and error with this as well. Okay, before we had that huge dip right here, see how this has kind of leveled it off? Looks a lot better to me. Let's see how it feels under here. All I'm doing is compressing where I know her hollowness is at. to make sure that we've got a good fit. When you put your saddle in, of course, you're going to pull this pad up in the gullet of the saddle because you want to create that wither relief that we've built into it. It's all about comfort for the horse. As you can see now, the saddle's sitting really nice and level on this mare's back. I believe we've got a better foundation underneath her to where her rider and her can have some quality time. But remember, whatever you do on one side, you need to assess the other side to make sure that you've got the correct fit over there. Not all horses are alike on both sides. You may have a shoulder that's bigger on one side than it is on the other. You may only have to shim one side. Maybe one side's a ½ inch, the other side's a quarter, or nothing at all. Just a footnote, all saddles are made differently. You can tell the difference in how this saddle is going to fit this horse compared to how the other saddle fit. This owner cared enough about her horse to get a custom saddle made. She's still going to require our pad. There's no doubt about that because we've got such a significant dip. But I've got good clearance now here over the wither. My hand moves freely here. And you can see we're not flaring out over that hip bone anymore. Once we put that pad in there and we shim her up a little bit, it's going to make a significant difference for her. And I think this mare's got a lot of years left in her for good rides.